to the UIAAA Connection podcast. GoFan and VNN are proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the UIAAA Connection. Now a combined company, GoFan and VNN provide a seamless integration for digital ticketing and athletic websites. Direct your fans to one place for all your athletic events, communications, and tickets to home and away games. Thank you to GoFan and VNN for their exclusive sponsorship of the UIAAA Connection.
Welcome back to another edition of the UIAAA Connection. I'm your host, Mark Hutch Hunter. Today we have as our special guest, Yahosh Bonner, the Director of Athletics at American Heritage School. Welcome to the podcast, Yahosh.
Yes. Hey, thanks for having me. This is awesome to actually be on rather than just watching. And I'm with legend.
Yeah, well, you keep thinking that. Let's have you begin by sharing with our international audience now where you grew up, where you went to college, your first job, those types of things.
Yeah, so I graduated from the University of Northern Colorado, but before then, actually, I did community college. I played a year at Cochise College in Douglas, Arizona. Played basketball, and then I played at Salt Lake Community College. We went to Hutch, went to the national championship and lost, but it was great because before I went there, I had one Division I offer. After going to Hutch, Hutchinson, Kansas, I had like 8, and that was me playing like 6-7 minutes a game. So it's nice to have those options after that year. So I ended up graduated from the University of Northern Colorado in the Big Sky in 2010. And then I coached community college basketball for 3 years as an assistant at Western Nebraska Community College. And that was a lot of fun. After that, I was
Where's Western Nebraska?
Oh, Scottsbluff, Nebraska.
Scottsbluff. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, Scottsbluff.
All right, continue.
And then I went to to finish up my master's degree at Southern Utah University, and I was the grad assistant there and director of basketball operations for a year. And then after I got my master's, I coached at a high school, American Leadership Academy down in Spanish Fork. Go Eagles for 4 years, and I taught leadership, journalism, strength and conditioning, and then came up here after 4 years. I'm going into my 7th year as an athletic director at American Heritage School now in American Fork. It's been amazing. It's been a lot of fun. I've taught a little bit of leadership here and strength and conditioning, some online science, just a variety of things. So.
All right, I want to talk about your younger days as an athlete. Did you get much chance to play junior jazz, et cetera, et cetera? I understand you moved down a bit. So I heard it from a reliable source who shall remain nameless, maybe Rich Barton, that you were an incredible basketball player during your time in Cedar. For a couple years at the high school.
Wow. He remembers, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Good. Yeah, so I had an older brother. He always let me come and play with him and his friends, even though we would fight all the time. We'd fight, and then he'd be like, "You want to go play basketball?" And I'd be like, "Yeah," And so my freshman year, he was a senior, and we were living in Cedar City, Utah, and so I got to sit on the bench and sit on the bench for varsity and practice with varsity. I played in one varsity game, but I was the only one that could really guard my older brother, and so it was great, and it helped develop me. But yeah, I was at Cedar High School. So after he left, I became the starting point guard the next year as a sophomore, and we had a really good year. Then after my sophomore year, we moved to Mesa, Arizona, and then I went to high school. I finished up high school at Mountain View High School in Mesa, Arizona. Go Toros! And had a great year. My junior year, I was first team All-State, player of the year for our region. And going into my senior year, I was a McDonald's All-American nominee. And it was just a really great situation.
So explain, with all this notoriety you had, you went to Cochise Junior College in Douglas?
Yeah. So what had happened was my senior year, Started off great. First week, playing really well. I broke my foot. And so I was out for 6.5 weeks. 6.5 weeks of a basketball season is like a lot, you know? So a lot of my recruitment dropped off, and I still had some offers. But one of the schools that were really interested in me was Yale. And I didn't have Yale grades. I didn't, but they said I should go to a prep school. I went to prep school in Connecticut, Choate Rosemary Hall Academy. I went there for a year, and it was great. Kind of lost touch with Yale. BYU was interested in me. Went on a visit to BYU. I really loved it, but they said, you know, we don't have scholarships, but if you want to walk on this year, you know, there could possibly be something that opens up. Well, long story short, Coach Cleveland, because he was the head coach at the time, called and was like, hey, actually, we're not going to be able to take you this year. And I guess they had another guy there named Jimmer or something. They wanted him.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, oh, what should I do? And I was like, well, you know what? I want to go on a mission. I went on a mission for my church. It just kind of came to me, and I put a lot of thought into it. And so I went on a 2-year LDS mission, and that's when like all the recruitment dropped off, except for a couple of junior colleges kept writing me. When you're on a mission and you're receiving letters, it's like gold. And so I was like, okay, I'll go junior college. And so that's how I ended up doing the junior college thing, 1 year in Arizona. And it was great. But I was really away from family. And I had some family going to school at BYU in Utah. And so I talked to one of my old coaches, and his cousin was the head coach at Salt Lake. And so I get on at Salt Lake Community College. So that's the community college route.
That's perfect. Let's have you talk for a minute about some of the mentors you've had in your life, Yahosh.
Yeah. So it's funny. I always, when I'm hiring coaches, I tell coaches, say, hey, like we want coaches that aren't going to coach just for a season or for the year. We want coaches that want to be involved in these student athletes' life forever. Because those are the kind of coaches that I've had, the mentors that I've had. I talk or text my coaches several times a year. I mean, I think was it last week? No, 2 weeks ago. I was just texting my high school coach because I ran into some guys that played for him. Every time I do that, I take a picture and I send it to him, or I'll send him pictures of my children, or I'll send him a music video, and we have a great relationship. My college coach, who now coaches at Colorado University, any job that I've ever gotten, I've asked if he could call for me, and he's called and given me a reference. And I graduated in 2010. So, you know, that was like 14 years ago. And yet I still have a strong connection with him, because that's the kind of man and coach that he is. He wants to be connected for life. He wants to know how the family's doing. And so those relationships have been really, really, really important to me. And I also have, and I should mention their names, Coach Gary Ernst. Coach Gary Ernst. He's Hall of Fame coach in Arizona. He was at Mountain View High School and the most winningest coach in state history. And then Coach Tad Boyle, who is now the head coach at Colorado University. Those are the men that I'm talking about. And then my junior college assistant coach, Coach Beck, he's been phenomenal. I actually played for him. He gave me a job. I got to coach with him for 3 years at Western Nebraska Community College. And so these men have been great friends and mentors to me. And it's made my journey in athletics a lot easier, because I say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. Or, hey, I'm talking to a parent. Hey, how did you deal with this? You know, so those are some guys that have been mentors to me, as well as Mark Pope, who was the former BYU coach. Now he's at the University of Kentucky. Any job that I've gotten, I've had him call for me as well. And he's been like, yeah, sure. And the way that I know Mark is that our families were good friends when my family was, when I went on my mission, my family lived in New York, and they became really good friends. And when I came home from my mission, he helped train me a little bit to kind of help prepare me jumping back into college basketball. So those are just a handful of mentors that I have.
That's excellent. Thanks so much for sharing. Yeah. Let me ask you somewhat of a serious question here, Yahosh. What's your biggest failure or disappointment in life, and what did you learn from it?
Oh my gosh. Biggest failure and disappointment in life. Okay. Biggest failure and disappointment in life. Well, I would say when I was at the University of Northern Colorado, it came to my senior year and I realized, oh, wait, I might not play in the NBA. I actually do need this degree for my life. What am I going to do? And I really buckled down my senior year academically, and I'd never had a 4.0 before, and I was on my way to getting a 4.0. And this is just like probably my biggest failure as a student athlete, being a student first. And I took a class that I didn't need just because I thought it'd be a fun class. Like, let me just take this class. And I got A's in all my classes, and then the grades came out and I had a B in that class. And I was like, oh, why do I have a B in this class? I didn't need it. So I just didn't know academically exactly what I needed to get my goal of getting that 4.0. And there was no bend or leeway. And I didn't develop rapport or relationship with that instructor enough for him to make that change. So that was a big goal that I had my senior year. I was like, oh man, I'm actually pretty good at this academic thing, and then I wasn't able to get it. And another one, as a coach, at ALA, my athletic director said, hey, this is your program. And yeah, we want to win, win, compete, but we want a coach that is a good example. We want a coach for these students to be able to look up to. So if you want, you can keep all of the students. And I was thinking, wow, we have tryouts and there weren't very many basketball players. And so I kept all the students and we had a great year. It was so much fun. We won 2 games for the season. And someone would say, that's a big failure, but I don't think it was a failure. I feel like we maximized what we were able to have. Well, as the seasons went on, I started getting some pressure from parents. You need to make cuts. You need to do this. Well, my 3rd year, I made my first cut. And I only cut 2 people. And I really regret that because it was just 2 young men who love and adored the program, love and adored their brothers, and the experience that they could have had, and they could have added to the program. And I feel really bad that I cut just those 2. I could have just kept them. It would have been good for them, because for me, coaching is I want to win, yeah, but it's more than that. It's about developing young athletes for life. And so unfortunately, I see their families all the time, everywhere. They pop up. I get to see them and they're like, hey, my son sure loves you. And I was like, well, I love them too, but I did not think enough about them. I had outside pressures. And there's very few situations where you can be a coach and where your administration says, you can keep everybody. And in that moment in my life and in my athletic career, I could have kept everybody, and I didn't. So I that's probably one of my biggest failures, is missing out on continuing to develop the relationship with those young men and allowing them to be a part of the program, because we weren't going to win a championship,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So you've talked a little bit about, you spent after you got out of college, spent some time at ALA. So how does one go from coaching at ALA and now you're in your 7th year as the AD at American Heritage?
Yeah. So I was eating. It's all about networking. It's about connections. It's about who you know. Most of the jobs that anybody will ever get is because of somebody referred them, or they told you about it, or somebody that works there. And so I had a friend of mine that was speaking at an event, and I went to the event, and at the table were some of his friends, Stacy Wood and her husband, who became one of my really good friends here on campus. And they worked here at American Heritage. They said, we love your personality. You would be great for this position as an athletic director. And I was like, I haven't done athletic administration. I did a little bit as as the operations guy at Southern Utah, but I don't think they would hire me. I don't think I have really the experience to be an athletic director. Well, when we got home, my wife was like, you're going to apply for that job? And I was like, no. And she was like, you're going to apply for that job. And I was like, oh, I'm going to apply for the job. So I applied, and they brought me in for an interview, and being able to talk to them a little bit about my background as not only a player, but as a coach, And at the school that I'm at, it's a faith-based school, and so having served a volunteer mission for my church, they were like, "That's pretty cool." And so I became one of the finalists, built some really great rapport. And what's funny is that they knew who my mother was. My mom is a vocal coach; she's a teacher, and so she's really well known in the area, Deborah Bonner. And so like, Bonner, I know that name. Is your mom Deborah Bonner? And I was like, yeah, that's my mom. And she had a great reputation. And anyway, they said, you know what? I think we want to extend this offer to you. This is different because the other finalist had coached professionally, had helped start other private schools, has been in administration, had just an amazing resume, but just the rapport that I was able to build within the conversation, and I think who referred me to the job, someone that already works there, allowed me to take on the job as athletic director here, and it's just been amazing. I've had tremendous support, and I've had a lot of opportunities to learn. And I just it's been really great, and it's beyond what I could have thought for me in terms of organization, because naturally I'm not an organized person, and as an athletic director you have to have things in order and hit deadlines and things like that. So it allowed me to learn that just because you're not something now, you can become that. You just need an opportunity, and I got that here.
Well said. Let's talk about the job of AD, and let's talk about how it's different just in the 7 years that you've had the job. Obviously, let's throw COVID out of it because COVID messed up everybody. But
yeah,
just in the time you've had in the last 7 years, how has the job changed?
Oh man, it's changed tremendously. So my first year here, we had this new building open up. This is beautiful, and we had a lot of people interested in seeing the athletics programs develop. Before I came here, we had a JV and varsity girls basketball team, a JV and varsity boys basketball team, a soccer team, and that was it. And now we have track and field, we have cross country, we have, and I'm just talking about changing differently here. We have baseball, we have golf. So we've added a lot of sports since I've been here. And then also, with the facilities that we have, students, instead of coming, because it's a K through 12, instead of coming and staying until 8th grade and leaving, now they're wanting to stick around, especially those who are pretty talented athletically. And now we're competing, and we're making the semifinals. We've won a couple championships. And so with that, I think parents are more invested. And so with parents being more invested, they're higher emotions. And so I've had to deal with a lot more conflict resolution, which has been awesome. It's been able to stretch me. So that's something that has changed. I think that, the parents are a little bit more involved. And as we've, because we're two-way, but our basketball team has done pretty well. And because there's so many students that want to play, our coach and administration thought, you know what, if we jump up to 3A, now we can have more games for our freshman and sophomore players rather than just being a J, because a lot of the 2A teams that we played in our region, they just had a JV and varsity. So those freshmen and sophomores were just sitting on the JV bench like this, and we want them to be able to play. And so we played, a fewer, more schools that are bigger. And so I've had to do a lot more training in terms of sportsmanship, for our coaches and how to manage parents. And it's been really well received. I think that coaches used to stay around a little bit longer. I feel like there's a lot more turnover. And so I'm just trying to figure out, how do I keep my coaches here longer? How do I keep them here longer? Do I pay them more? Do they need an extra polo? Do I need to give them and their assistants keys to the building? And so those are things that I'm dealing with now in the last few years in terms of changes, is the training piece, and then retaining coaches.
That's excellent. Let's talk about for a moment your journey with the UIAAA.
Oh yeah.
How did you hear about it? How did you begin to become involved? And then I want you to speak, and our Utah audience is going to love this, because Yahosh sang the national anthem at our banquet last April, and I'm still getting comments about it. But
Oh, wow.
talk about your journey with the UIAAA.
Oh man, gosh, it just seemed like a to-do thing. Like is this another check thing to do? And then I went to one of your trainings, and I was like, oh, it's not just a to-do thing. This is information that I need. And the person that told me that I needed to go was Laura Nichols, who was my athletic director at ALA. And
At
she's
ALA,
a
sure.
close friend of mine. I don't want to call her a mentor because she's like younger than me, you know? But she's been someone that I've been able to call and ask questions about certain rules and things like that. But I went there and realized that to do this job effectively, you have to want to learn and continue to learn and to change, because the kinds of student athletes are changing. That's another thing that's changed is club sports. Some kids will come to school and I'm not sure if I'm going to play. I want to play college ball, but all the coaches will just come to my club sports, so it's giving them another reason to be a part of our school and to wear our logos. But the UIAAA, it's kind of like a family as you connect and meet with the other athletic directors, and it makes my job easier when issues arise of sportsmanship on the court or in the crowds, because now I'm not puffed up and like trying to protect mine, but I know Matt over at Freedom. Oh, I know Coach Laura Nichols. We can talk and say, hey, this is what happened. Oh, how can we make it right? Oh, how can we be stronger together? Okay, let's move forward. And so the UIAAA has created an opportunity for me to connect and to know other athletic directors on a more personal level. And it makes my job more enjoyable because we understand how much work it takes to be an athletic director. Nobody else. They just see the games and they show up and they leave, but they don't understand the hours that it takes in preparation, and the vetting that we have to do with the coaches, and just the emotional not hard work, but hard work that goes into this job. And so to have other people like you that are a part of the UIAAA they care about getting better, it's been great because you can relate.
Very good. I want to go back. When I first met you, it's been 5 or 6 years since we've known each other, and I just thought he's an up-and-coming guy, outgoing guy. I had no idea at that time that you were famous.
I'm not.
And that you're, and I want to talk about this because your family all sings, and they're on YouTube and stuff. Like, if I'd have known that, I would have got your autograph 5 or 6 years ago and put it on eBay and made some money. No. But I want you to talk about what a blessing it is for you to be able to be with your family and to sing, and that's a whole different part of. It has nothing to do with being an AD, but I've never had a professional singer on the podcast before, so I want you to talk about that a little bit.
Well, what's amazing is that it actually does have something to do with being an athletic director, because I love coaching. I love basketball, but I love music. I love my family. And so being an athletic director, even though I'm at like every home game, I have other administrators and other support staff that can be there for me to allow me to go and to sing, to allow me to go and do these events in other places and to be with my family. Also, as a coach, I'm extremely vocal, like extremely vocal. So when I would coach during the season, if someone wanted me to sing at an event, I'd be like, I can't. Oh, why, do you have a game or something? No, I just don't have a voice. They don't tell you the price that you pay as a coach when you get into coaching. Yes, your voice is going to sound like you just got up in the morning for the rest of your life, And so being an athletic administrator allows me to get many of the benefits of being a coach, the relationship with the student athletes, enjoying supporting these student athletes and in watching the games. But then also I'm able to keep my voice, and then I'm able to have some of the flexibility of not having to be at every practice and to go places. But it's been a huge blessing for me to be able to connect with my family and to kind of get, you know, a release or a step away. Because with this job, there's always something to do. There's always something to do. And so being a singer and motivational speaker and actor or whatever allows me to step away and to do something else and to come back. It's just kind of like a recharge.
Let me get this straight, because I'm not sure about this. So I know there's you, and I know that there's your mom, because you already mentioned her. How many others of the family sing with your group there?
So I have 7 siblings. There's 4 boys and 4 girls. My oldest sister, Nolang, my younger, my brother, Mauli, my sister Clotilde, then there's me, my brother Conlon, my sister Oyeyo, and my youngest brother Oba. And then actually my niece sings with us too. So there's 9 children, and then both of my parents. So there's 11 singers in the Bonner family music group. So it's a lot of fun, and it's really competitive trying to get a solo.
Yeah, I can imagine. Tell me, is there certain times of the year that the demand is more for your singing? Like,
Oh
is it
yeah.
more in the summer? Is it crazy at Christmas time? Is it crazy at Valentine's? Talk about that.
There's several seasons. So I would say during Christmas, because we have our own Christmas album. And then also during Black History Month, because we are in Utah, and we are still adding to our diversity. And we love music and we love our culture. So we'll do assemblies and concerts. So February, and then summertime, there's a lot of concerts and things going on. We do a Pioneer Day for Deseret Book here concert, and then we also do like Juneteenth events and things like that. So it just kind of ebbs and flows.
Does it take you much out of the state, or is most of your stuff in state?
You know, it's starting to take us, well, it takes us out of the state a little bit, but it's really starting to, like, we're going to Guadalupe next fall. This summer, I'm going to the Dominican Republic. The family will go to the Dominican Republic. I plan next summer to go to Canada. So it's starting to really spread. We went to Ghana, Africa 2 years ago. So there's a little bit of travel, but what's great is that there's so many of us. You know, we'll send like 4 and 6 and 4 and 8. Rarely will it ever be all 11 of us.
That's fascinating. Coincidentally, you'll find this interesting. My former stake president is leaving to be the mission president in Ghana here in 3 weeks.
What? Whoa! Yeah. Oh man, I loved Ghana. Ghana was great, man. The people there are just amazing.
That's incredible. Yahosh, what's the favorite part of your job?
Oh my goodness, favorite part of my job. I mean, I just feel, the students here are just really great. I feel every time I come to school, I'm giving like high fives, and it's the relationships, with the students and seeing them succeed. The relationships with the coaches, man, when the coaches are good and you're on the same wavelength, it makes my job easy. So I think the relationships with the coaches and the student athletes is my favorite.
That is excellent. Let's finish up with a couple of questions. The first one being, I need 2 pieces of advice for a new athletic director. And in order for them to be a success, they have to follow Yahosh's 2 pieces of advice. What would those 2 pieces of advice be?
I would say, stay up on your emails. Also, set milestones. So in the summer, I'll say, okay, at this point, in like June, by June 7th, I want to make sure that all of my fall schedules are set. By June 10th, make sure that I've promoted all summer camps. So set milestones throughout the year, specifically in the summer, because the summer it's easy to just, we're done. But the harder you work in the summer, the easier your year goes. Unfortunately, you know, because the summer you want to take a lot of time off and take that time when you got to take the time. But I would say set milestones. And one more. I know I gave you two more, one previous, but have touch points with your coaches. We've started having meetings with our coaches, you know, all the coaches monthly, and providing food. And it's like 45 minutes. Even if they're out of season, they can come in and they can talk to you and know that your door is open. So they're not feeling like they have to do things on their own. And so that when their season comes, it's not like a bunch of questions and a bunch of things that we have to do. It's like, oh no, come to the meeting. We'll open up. Hello, everybody. Introduce yourselves so you guys know each other, because sometimes coaches share spaces, and for them to have a good relationship allows things to go more smoothly. Have a quick training, you know, on some kind of a principle, whether it's communication or whether it's making sure that your credentials are in, just something small, and then just enjoy each other for 45 minutes. I think is super helpful. So set milestones and have, you know, at least monthly touch points with your coaches.
Yahosh, what question should I have asked you that I failed to ask you?
Where people can subscribe to my YouTube channel and book me. No, I was joking.
No, that is, I want you to mention that, because I had no idea you had your own YouTube channel.
Oh man. What you should have asked me, how important is it to nurture a relationship with the rest of your administrative team? It is important to get those guys a part of you. One thing that I've done, especially when I was a coach, is that when I ordered things for my coaches and for my players, if I was able to within the budget, I'd get polos also for administration. These are polos that they could wear when they come and support the athletes at the games. Because unfortunately, sometimes when you're an athlete, people say, oh, this is the athlete, we got to hold them to a different standard, or they're treated differently. Unconscious bias, I would say, you know, sometimes because those are the people that get to leave class early sometimes. Those are the people that have the backpacks, and sometimes that can rub people the wrong way. So if we can invite more people into athletics, starting with athletic administration, starting with the administration principals and vice principals, and then teachers, inviting them into the family of athletics. That way we're all more one rather than us and them.
Yeah. That is a great answer. On that note, that wraps up this edition of the UIAAA Connection. Again, our special guest today has been Yahosh Bonner, Director of Athletics at American Heritage School and famous singer with the Bonner Family Singers. You can catch him on YouTube, so make sure you do that. Yahosh, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
For our listeners, we hope you tune in again next week for another edition of the UIAAA Connection.